Hello, 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 and welcome to your favorite bad movie podcast. The only podcast that's brave enough to ask the question, if this movie's so bad, why do you like it so much? We're your hosts. My name is Chris Anderson. With me, I have my wonderful wife, Anna.
Hello.
And unfortunately, we do not have Greg with us this week. He's got knock wood, just a cold. Prayers up for Greg. But we do have with us a man that you might know as a film critic. You might know as a musician. Or you might know him as a secret executive for Universal Studios working on their new Dark Universe and host of the podcast, Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? It's Dylan Roth.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm happy I can be Greg for the day.
Well, those are big shoes to fill, but I have no doubt you'll meet them handily. And you chose our movie this week. And you
yes,
chose,
I did.
You did not even hesitate when I asked. You had it right off the dome. Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, this was not a challenge to pick out my favorite bad movie because,
all right,
as I think we're likely to talk about, I think it's debatable. I think this movie has a reputation for being bad, but I think that considering the rest of the Fast and the Furious franchise does not necessarily have that reputation, that it's nonsense that anyone would say this movie is bad. I think to summarize the next 90 minutes of everyone's lives, in case you have other things you want to do today, if you say that the Fast and Furious is a good movie, and you say that Fast 5 is a good movie, and you say that any of the Fast and Furious movies are a good movie, you are required to admit that Tokyo Drift is a good movie.
I think that's
I think arguably the best movie in the entire franchise.
Well, we're going to agree with you on that front. We both believe that Tokyo Drift is the best of the Fast franchise that we've seen.
Yeah.
We discovered that once when I was only part-time employed and living in my in-laws' basement. And on a couple times I would just marathon movie franchises. And I'd never seen much of the Fast and the Furious, not since my Kim's Video days when it was out on DVD. And I was like, oh, it's a Point Break knockoff. I get it. I was more of a Triple X guy.
Aha.
I finally decided, let me go in on all the Fast and Furiouses, and watching them all up to 7 at that point. It was 3 was the standout, far away best. The one that I remembered the most, the one that I enjoyed the most. 3 is king in my book.
Yeah, because I was there for that marathon. And yeah, we watched 7 movies, and I remember, a little bit about like the first couple. I remember Dom Toretto's name, and I remembered like Paul Walker is in it. But Tokyo Drift is the one that I really had memories of in this, however many years later. What, 8, 9?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
This movie now is almost. I cannot wait to write a 20-year retrospective on this film. We're almost there. I'm so excited.
It's so
oh wow.
It's so bizarre to look at this now and be like, this is probably one of the more grounded Fast and the Furious. At the time, it seemed so decadent and so fantastical. And now it's like, hey, at least the cars are most of the time on the ground, you know? It's like I can comprehend what I'm seeing. Like I watched Fast 9 for my research because I knew that some of the characters came back. And it was basically like a G.I. Joe miniseries condensed into a movie. And I mean that complimentary, but that is what it was. It was basically G.I. Joe.
Well, yeah, and I think like that's Justin Lin is, for starters, I think a very good director for these kinds of movies. And I wish that he got to make more movies that weren't just this kind of movie. But my first experience with this movie is actually sort of a consequence of one of Justin Lin's other franchise films, which is Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
Like many snobby intellectuals of my generation, I did not pay any mind to the Fast and Furious films when they came out. I thought I was above it. I wasn't interested. this is silly stuff, I said, watching The Dark Knight for the 80th time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know I had the timeline mixed up there a little bit. This was before The Dark Knight, but it's it was not until my mid-20s when Justin Lin was announced as the director for the third film in the rebooted Star Trek series. Star Trek's my bread and butter. I've been writing about Star
Okay.
Trek forever. I am I say cautiously because there are thousands and thousands of more obsessive, better schooled nerds. I am an expert. I'm
Yeah.
not a top shelf expert, but I know more about Star Trek than 0.0001% of people.
You'll
And
do fine at the Star Trek trivia night down at the pub.
at the pub, sure. At the convention, I'm fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, okay, people are mad. Maybe I'm mad. I don't know. Should I be mad? Let me watch some of this guy's movies. And
Mhm.
so I watched Better Luck Tomorrow, which
Mhm.
is his sort of his first movie, his calling card.
Yeah.
Which is like I think a pretty good like MTV produced high school crime thriller.
I think MTV bought it, but yeah, it was sort of like a high school neo-noir, like in the style of like Brick, like in that same sort of
Exactly.
vibe.
A little flashier. I mean, like less show-offy on a film level, on a cinematic level, but like
Mhm.
a little, it's
A little poppier.
less more poppy, less moody, more sexy, and features, speaking of sexy, Sung Kang in what
Mm.
is now retroactively his first appearance as the character Han Lu, aka Han Solo, from the Fast and Furious films.
Yeah, so that is now retroactively within the canon of Fast and Furious.
Yes,
But you got to figure
Yeah.
that's got to make it, because he's got to get points on Better Luck Tomorrow. That's got to be making Justin Lin a little extra change.
I'm
Selling a
sure.
couple extra copies.
Paramount has not, to my knowledge, told him to stop, which is good.
Yep.
To stop mentioning it. But so I checked that out. But at the time, still, I was, I think, kind of too much of a stick in the mud to totally enjoy Fast and Furious until I saw Fast 5, which is such an undeniable banger of a dumb action movie.
Okay.
That kind of got me to change my tune. I went through, I think, asynchronously. I can't recall the first time I saw Tokyo Drift. I only remember that I never watched it at the target age demographic.
Yeah.
I watched it much later, and I think it took me a couple of viewings to realize, wait, I love this movie. This is not just like a movie that I'm like sort of semi-ironically enjoying. I have written, not published, but
Okay.
written extensively about all the layers on which I think this movie works. And like the one or two layers on which I think it's inarguably dog shit.
Have you read Sean Cunningham's book about Roadhouse?
I have not.
Well, he apparently he wrote like an essay about Roadhouse a day for a year and compiled it all into a book.
Wow.
So I think it sounds like you're on your way to a Tokyo Drift style of that, or version of that book.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to do more YouTube stuff, so maybe I'll do a thing where every week I do a video about a different 5-minute chunk of Tokyo Drift.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Nice deep dive.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way to lose a lot of money. But
yeah. Well, all you need to do is just draw stills and use those instead of actual stills from the film, and you'll be just fine.
That would be fun. But yeah, so it became a movie that I just loved to watch with Du Bois, or it became a good pick me up movie. Later on, after I became a freelance writer, and there was money to be made in doing listicles about Fast and Furious movies, I got into the habit of watching all of them and taking notes and making sure I knew every character's full name and backstory. And that also made Tokyo Drift kind of a nice little break, because it is not really a big part of the lore of it just gets to be its own little movie in this larger franchise.
Yeah, it's not weighed down. Like they've almost run into the same problem that the MCU has, and I think they're stopping it now at like before it gets to where the MCU is now. You know what I mean?
It's fortunate that Universal does have like other movies that they make, whereas Marvel Studios is an entire movie studio dedicated to a single franchise that people are tired of.
Yeah,
they're in hot water. They're in a tough spot. The X-Men might save them if they don't screw it up. We'll see.
Yeah, big if. Because I don't think the public's ever going to go for a Fantastic Four movie. I don't think they work as a movie. I think I think they're a tough sell.
If you're going to go big enough and weird enough, and that first concept art looks kind of interesting, and also Pedro Pascal is so beloved and charismatic, I kind of feel like he can sell anything.
For me, it's like the magic of the Fantastic Four was Jack Kirby, and once Jack Kirby's not involved, it's not interesting to me anymore. Do you know what I mean? I never cared that much about the characters. All right. Anyway.
We've gone far afield here. Yes. So, but yeah, Justin Lin is a director that I like a lot, and like I went back and realized that he directed a bunch of Community episodes. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh.
He's and we of course all admire the genius of screenwriter Chris Morgan, who is responsible for writing Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, and is one of the credited producers on the 2017 Mummy film, over which I have dedicated many hours of my life for my podcast.
Well, there you go. It seems like this man has left a large thumbprint on your imagination.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's sort of a weird little miracle of a movie, which is a funny thing to say in now a chapter of a franchise that is like overgrown its potential.
But I think it almost is an example of what everyone wishes franchises would be doing, to do something where there's an entry that's a little bit different and doesn't have all this backstory and has a different vibe, but is still relatably part of the whole. To have that is what people are aching for now.
Exactly. This was A Quiet Place day one, 20 years before A Quiet Place day one. It was, hey, what are the things you like about this? What is if these are brands, right? If we're to think of these, we might be actually coming out at the end of the tunnel of the idea of directors and movie stars being the draw of movies again, rather than characters and franchises. But let's say that the paradigm of the last 10-15 years has been that you go to see a movie because of the brand of the movie, whether that be a studio underneath a larger studio, or this one has Captain America in it, or Spider-Man is a better example because you're going to go see it regardless of which Spider-Man is or who's playing said Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man movies, although maybe I don't like Spider-Man movies if most of them don't include Spider-Man and are terrible. But
that's the exception that proves the rule.
Yes, but the Fast and the Furious is, okay, what are these movies about? Well, they are teen-targeted, poppy, sort of crime movies centered around cars with trendy or not necessarily, with trendy soundtracks and good-looking people acting like children, really. Acting like a teenager's idea of what an adult behaves to be, what they would do, right? So Universal planned to kick this into the lower gear, if you will, of direct-to-video features, and Justin Lin and Chris Morgan came in and rescued it from that bin, because they were ready to we lost Vin Diesel, and now we're losing Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson. So I guess it's time for this to go the route of most franchises during this period of time when home video was a viable thing for low-budget, mid-budget films. And
during the DVD explosion.
Exactly. Yeah, we're no longer going to try and get a recurring cast. We're just like, it's just a brand. It's a label we throw in a movie. We make it for, maybe $40 million. What can we do that's cheaper that we can realistically slap this label on? And they came in with this idea. I'm trying to remember if the idea began with Chris Morgan or if it began with Chris Morgan, right? Because Justin Lin did the rewrites. But it's such a sorry, I've lost my train of thought because now I'm a picture of a car appeared on my screen.
Understandable. The cars are very distracting.
Yes.
It sounds like I'm going to say we're pretty much into the context portion of the show. So I'm just going to play the context bumper.
that's the extra mile that makes a good podcast great. That's what it takes.
Well, we're trying, brother. We're trying. So, just to go through I skipped over our classic summary. Anyone who hasn't seen the film, just so you can hold this summary of the plot in your mind, a little coat hanger to hang the rest of the episode on. An American juvenile delinquent named Sean gets shipped off to Tokyo and gets embroiled in a dangerous world of organized crime and street racing, where he must master the mysterious driving technique called drifting. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I always had the dream of writing those 2-sentence summaries that would pop up in the TV guide. That sounds like the best job in the world.
Absolutely.
Does not pay.
No, but do it in bulk, you know?
Well, that's, yeah.
I'll make it up in
Have
volume.
little jokes in them sometimes. It was cute.
Yeah, it was just a blast. So this was came out 2006, directed by Justin Lin. It was the third of somewhere between 11 and 13 canonical Fast and Furious films, depending on how you count them.
Okay.
Made on a budget of $85 million and a box office of $159 million worldwide. Sounds like a great investment, but also I think the lowest box office of any Fast and Furious, arguably because it had none of the stars of Fast and the Furious in it. Let's see. It was a big enough success that they brought Justin Lin back to direct the next 3 Fast and the Furious films, and then again for F9. And he was on set directing Fast X for about a week before he quit, allegedly due to friction with Vin Diesel, and at a personal cost of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think maybe the absence of Vin Diesel also is perhaps a benefit to this film.
I think so. It gives it room to breathe.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. It seems like even pretty early on in his career, he really wanted to have this sort of Tom Cruise type career where he comes onto a movie and it becomes a Vin Diesel movie in which he's allowed to remove his shirt. And that's a reference to a Sunset Story where he refused to take off his shirt in a movie where he was not the lead.
That's
says,
fair.
I only take off my shirt in a Vin Diesel movie. So
I mean, it's right. You gotta pay. You want to see these pecs.
Yeah, I mean, he really did will himself into movie stardom, and you have to respect him for that. But now, now he's like, Putin, call me. We'll work this all out. He's gone completely Tom
he's
Cruise
lost.
mode.
Yeah. Oh, he's gone or the Seagal mode if he's
he's friends with Putin. Yeah,
he's
but like that sort of Jim Carrey kind of vibe where he's just completely surrounded by yes men and believes all his own hype.
Yes, but this movie, I think the thing that killed it for reason why it was so reviled by fans for a period of time and why it was not a big box office hit, because they were like, how can it be Fast and Furious without, a character who wasn't in that one movie already, and then a character who is leaving again. I guess it was the idea that people had much narrower idea of what franchises or series were at the time. But
and you look back at something like Halloween 3 and you see how that, like, there's a precedent for trying to switch things up too much in a third entry and audiences not responding to it.
And of course, that's now considered one of the best movies in the franchise.
Right.
Exactly.
Well. So what I'm saying is, if you have a franchise that's on the bubble after two movies,
mix it up.
Mix it up. Do a third one. They're going to drag you back to the middle for the fourth one anyway. New model, original parts, yada yada, and then history will prove that you were right in the long run. That you should probably have done this. But it's the only one of these movies other than the original that you can just sit somebody down and show them this movie, and it requires no other context. A thing that is far too rare in our current cinematic landscape.
Yeah.
And
it's nice to not have to do homework to watch a movie.
Yes.
But here's some more of my homework. This was Lin's 4th film. The most important film that he did before this, for our purposes, was Better Luck Tomorrow, which was a sort of neo-noir about Asian high school students, or Asian American high school students, more accurately. It's important because it introduced Sung Kang's character Han Lu. In Better Luck Tomorrow, he's still in high school. He's not as he's still wilding out a little bit. By the time he gets to Tokyo Drift, he's cool as a cucumber. He's so those wild outs. But as a younger man, but he was also like the most serious actual criminal. It was like about a gang of nerds, and he was their cousin who was like an actual crimer who just like did crimes with them.
Okay.
Based on the strength of this calling card film, Lin gets tapped by some major studios, first to direct the naval drama Annapolis, which completely flopped. You must have signed on for Tokyo Drift before the numbers came in, is my imagination.
Yeah, I do not remember that movie at all.
It used to come in a lot used as a used DVD at Vintage Vinyl. A record
Mm-hmm.
store I worked at,
Oh.
where it was. So I've seen the cover many times because I had to stop buying it at the counter, and so I
They're
turned
like
away
too
from getting
many
a copy of
Annapolis.
Annapolis. Yeah.
Yeah, just picture James Franco in profile wearing like a Navy cap. And yeah, who doesn't want to see that? James Franco. Now, this film is notorious for not having any of the cast members from the previous two Final Fantasy. That's what I get for writing it down, FF. Fast and Furious movies. Except for the cameo by Vin Diesel in the final scene of the film. The effect of this could have been like if at the end of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Mike Myers popped up in the last 2 minutes and killed Tom Atkins. Instead, it set the tone of the rest of the franchise, being a little bit more expansive and globe-trotting, with expanding, interconnected stories, focusing on Dom's ever-expanding found family. He loves family, this guy. It also introduced the breakout character of Han to the larger world. Han was so popular that the rest of the series shaped their continuity around erasing his death in this film, setting 4, 5, and 6 as prequels, and then an F9 explaining that Han's death was faked by Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody. I'll take it as long as Han's there.
Listen, I love Han, and I wanted justice for Han, but I think Han not having been dead the whole time is not justice for Han.
No.
I think it makes things worse because now suddenly I'm like, oh, Han's here.
Yeah.
And I guess
no, you're right. Is that I spent the whole time from, watching these movies until Fast 9 being like, they should bring Han back. And then it was like, no, not like this.
I think it's almost never a good idea to make adjustments to the story of your franchise based on a trending hashtag. I would say that's bad. Don't do that. I mean, it might also be just as much because Justin Lin loves the character and loves Sung Kang, but like honestly, it would be no less stupid and no less out of character of the Fast and Furious series to introduce like an evil twin brother for him to play. Like,
yeah,
I would have preferred that. And I won't get specific in case anyone's precious about spoilers for Fast X, but they can't stop doing this. They keep adding characters to replace the characters who die, and then revealing that the dead characters are still alive. So the cast at this point is, well, let's just say it makes sense that that Vin Diesel considers Fast and Furious to be Tolkien-esque and his Lord of the Rings.
I won't argue.
Cast of thousands.
Yeah, it is expansive. It's a little bit War and Peace.
Yeah, but what's nice about Tokyo Drift? Like 5 characters, like 5 to 8 characters.
I can keep track of all the pieces on the chessboard. I can see the end game. It's fantastic. Now, Tokyo Drift. Another lasting effect of Tokyo Drift was it greatly raised consciousness of the driving technique known as drifting. Drifting involves intentionally putting your car into a skid during a tight turn, normally using either the clutch or the handbrake. This allows your front wheels to keep spinning at a high speed so you can quickly maneuver through tight corners and accelerate out of them at a higher speed. That's the end of my... Oh, wait, no. My last bit of context notes. Other action films of 2006, just so we can put a thing in its place. We've got Apocalypto, Ultraviolet, Smokin' Aces, Crank, so far the best one on the list, Casino Royale,
yes,
Miami Vice, Mission Impossible 3, The 300, The Covenant, Underworld Evolution, DOA, Dead or Alive, a classic, and Snakes on a Plane. So that was the state of... we were obviously waiting for superhero movies to show up.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, that's a a weird bill.
Yeah.
Weird
Yeah.
list.
Wow. I mean, '07 was the last year in Hollywood without like 3 superhero movies. So we were coming up to that point.
You were about to say something, my Jeff?
I had just 2 sentences of context
Oh,
because I
yes.
got curious about the history of car racing on film. So I
Okay.
looked up like when the first ones were. And the first one I could find is a 1913 silent short called The Speed Kings.
Ooh, what a title.
Yeah, yeah. It stars Fatty Arbuckle and some early race car drivers playing themselves. I really wonder, like, how fast did race cars go in 1913? What do you think? 60 miles per hour?
That'd be my guess.
Something
Are,
like
are
that.
we playing are we playing Prices Right now? Am I trying to underbid?
And the other one that I had was a 1914 silent film called Kid Auto Races at Venice.
Mm,
Was the first appearance of Charlie Chaplin's Little Tramp character. He plays a spectator who keeps getting in the way of a newsreel camera at the titular race, and there's
okay.
it eventually pulls back to see the camera and cameraman, and it's one of the first films to have that on it, which I thought was interesting.
That
I
is
just
neat.
I always like these little notes of film history.
Yeah. Yeah. The first meta film, perhaps. Well, I think there's only one thing left to do, and that's to get to the meat of the show. It's time for me to play the plot bumper.
Plot bumper, listen to me. I'm gonna give you the plot summary. Come on, baby, here's the synopsis. Plot bumper, plot bumper.
So we open on a typical dystopian American high school where the children are all basically violent psychotics or their victims. The only one that appears to be neither is Sean. He is a cool dude that fixes an old muscle car. But he runs afoul of a local jock played by the oldest brother from Home Improvement. The only way to settle it, race for pink slips. And obviously, the guy's girlfriend is like, whoever wins gets me. Great stuff.
Because girls do that.
I mean, if you're looking to this film for realistic human behavior, I think this is not what this is about. This is heightened.
Yeah, or at least, yeah, the positive, not really positive gender politics. Not the point.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this character, Cindy, whose name is not ever uttered on screen. Because the only explanation you can come up with for her behavior, if you desire one, is that she is a raging sociopath, and that and that like she's so excited at the ability that she has to get these two guys to like potentially kill themselves in pursuit of her. And like she comes up with this idea basically for just to goad on her shitty boyfriend. And like he's losing the race and she's sitting in the passenger seat and she turns to him and she says, "I thought you loved me."
Yeah.
And he's like he's like, "I guess I'm gonna need a new date. I guess I'm gonna have a new date for prom." And like he looks like he's gonna die. Like he's gonna break into tears behind the wheel of the car, and she's just like, "I'm so cool for doing this. This is so cool."
She's like a character from Crash.
This taps into a recurring theme that we've had in our podcast so far, which is a fear of being cuckolded. And it seems to pop up surprisingly often in the movies that we cover. So they decide they're going to go race in an old, or not old, but a incomplete housing development. We get a great Kid Rock needle drop and they destroy a lot of property and nearly die. But Sean does win, so he's got that going for him. Now, he does get arrested, but instead of risking jail time for yet another reckless driving conviction before his 18th birthday, Sean flees the country to go live with his father in Tokyo. It's weird.
Sorry. I just realized that up to this point, this could really be the plot of a Bruce Springsteen song.
It could be. Up until he flees to
Instead of
Tokyo.
Tokyo, it's like Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah.
Then
he flees to joins the army and fights Viet Cong.
Yes. Got caught in a little hometown jam.
Yeah, his hometown jam was drag racing through the housing development. That's the subtext of the song. And it's also weird. They're like, we've tried everything. The next thing is juvenile hall. It's like, did anyone try just taking away his fucking license? That seems like the most obvious like step that no one has taken yet. But maybe he's like, I'll drive any damn way. You know, he doesn't care. So he flees to Tokyo. Next thing you know, he's a fish out of water. He has to sleep in his dad's closet and wear the classic Japanese school uniform, do a whole new school, etc. He quickly meets his two best friends, Twinkie, played by Bow Wow, aka Little Bow Wow, aka Shad Moss, and who plays Twinkie, a fast-talking con man. And then there's Neela, an Australian babe. Twinkie takes Sean under his wing when he finds out that he also likes cars. And he takes him to the cool parking garage where all the car guys hang out. Classic place to hang out.
It's kind of brilliant, really, because it's a place where you'll find the most cars. If you're talking about volume.
Yeah, there's room to put your car there.
Literally floor after floor after floor of cars.
It's almost like it was built to purpose.
Yeah.
So there are lots of hot babes. You got some Ganguro girls. And you get lots of tricked out street cars. You don't see any with like the anime girl rap. I think that maybe that would have been too corny. I don't know. But it has that kind of vibe.
We don't have that, but we do have Twinkie's car, which is a I wish I could remember the name of the kind of car that he has. Oh, it's a Volkswagen Touran, which is pretty. I don't think that Scion was even a brand. Was like just launching as a sub brand at this point, and his car is in some Universal brand synergy for the time, a green hatchback van with the impression of a hand and a fist and a foot coming out of the metal to imply that the Incredible Hulk is trying to escape from his car.
Yeah. And it has a big Incredible Hulk, like Seth MacFarlane Incredible Hulk face screaming on the hood.
I think my favorite detail is that there is an eyebrow above the windshield. Is a single short, or maybe it's like a flat top, I guess, like the Hulk flat top, which I guess sometimes he has. That's really more of a Red Hulk thing, but that's neither here nor there. And the amount of pride that Twinkie takes in this hideous, incredibly cringe automobile is truly admirable, and it endears me to him so much because it says so much about Twinkie. Twinkie is the most confident guy with nothing going on that you've ever met. And it works for him in the text. He's just the funny little guy who models like to hang out with when they're tired at the end of their day of modeling.
He's the classic high school archetype of like the hustler. You know what I mean? The guy who has like concert tickets that'll sell you in the bathroom. Eagle Bauer from Rock and Roll High School, that kind of vibe. But he's got like little guy energy too. And his name though, Twinkie, I've heard this, I can't remember where I read this, but that is a slur used in the Asian community, as I understand it, to mean someone who is yellow on the outside and white on the inside. That character being originally written to be an Asian dude who would be the guy that would befriend the white guy that comes in. I think they decided maybe that's a bit much, but for some reason they never changed his name. They're like, no one's going to know what that is anyway. We'll just call it. I don't want to do the find replace because I'd have to find both Twinkie and Twink. Come on. And twink will never mean anything else. That's fine too.
Certainly the kind of mistake that would be made when the straightest man on earth is writing a film.
Yeah, and not even an issue. All right, so in addition to the hot babes, there are also some local criminals, including Takashi, aka DK, aka Drift King, and Han. Takashi is a bad kind of criminal, but Han is a good kind of criminal. Takashi is also dating Neela. Sean once again finds himself flirting with an asshole's hot girlfriend and then challenging that asshole to a car race. But this time there are two key differences than from when he was in, I think, Arizona. First, we find out that people call Takashi DK or Drift King because he is so good at drift racing. And second, the other problem is Sean doesn't have a car. So Han loans him a car, which he promptly wrecks, embarrassing himself, losing the race, and now he also owes a criminal an entire race car. Things haven't been going that great for Sean yet.
And his dad is mad at him.
Yeah, and he's probably going to get grounded if he keeps this up.
Oh, brother.
Sandy's got a test tomorrow. School never comes up. So, but Han does pick him up from school the next day and has him start doing crime stuff for him. He has him collect some money from a sumo wrestler in a bathhouse. And, he goes to DK's Yakuza hangout, which is behind a pachinko parlor, and they got a mahjong table. And then they go to Han's hangout, which is half a bar for supermodels and half a fancy car garage.
It's definitely a thing that exists.
I mean, it's almost like if you asked a kid to build his dream house, but the kid's getting a little bit older. He's like, well, yeah, I'd want a garage full of sick-ass cars, and I'd want a bar full of hot babes. And I
they
guess
all
a
have
toilet.
little cubbies, like the elementary school cubbies you have for all the kids' shoes. It's that, but for babes. They each have their own little cubby. Okay,
Yeah.
apparently the guys who live there also get cubbies. It's not they're not exclusively these are the hot girl cubbies. They are.
It feels like they were trying to squeeze in those Japanese micro hotels, but they were like, we'll just put it in Han's garage. We don't want to have that whole scene there. That's something that they have in Japan. Put it in the movie. It's great. Now, most importantly, while Sean is hanging out there, Han gives him a car and agrees to teach him how to drift in preparation for a race against DK's henchman, Morimoto. Morimoto, I'm going to say, fantastic henchman.
Yes.
I love a good henchman, and Morimoto is great. He's got this blonde mullet with severely chopped bangs. He's the wild man style henchman. You know what I mean? The kind of guy who's like,
right, because you have your muscle, you have your wild man, you have your totally anonymous one, and they have to, they got to be a mirror or a compliment to your villain, and our villain's very icy and severe.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta give him, for every Jabba needs a salacious crumb, and
yeah,
that's he's a Jabba wife.
Sean continues to train and grow closer to his new friends. Basically, the middle act of the movie is very fillery. It's a lot of scenes of we're training, we're progressing our relationships slowly. We get Sean training and growing closer with his new friends, and tensions to continue to mount between him and his enemies. Sean saves Twinkie from getting beaten up by Morimoto for selling Morimoto a bad iPod. And he also moves out of his dad's closet and into Han's garage, presumably into one of the many cubbies. Sean goes on a date to the vending machines with Neela. Obviously, we're going to go to the vending machines.
May I say, during this punctuating this training montage, you've got this great bit with a couple of old men fishing off the pier, and when watching, Sean fail and then succeed at drifting, and those men are one of them, the one who speaks, who says at first, "You call that drifting?" and then later, "Not bad." That is Keiichi Tsuchiya, the actual Drift King. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that was him.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's one of the fishermen.
Rules.
The other guy, the silent one, Kazutoshi Wadakura, he's a Japanese film producer. He was line producer on this movie.
Okay.
But he also produced Shin Godzilla and is it Shin Ultraman that's out and Shin Kamen Rider that's coming. Shin Godzilla was so good.
So he's still out there working.
Oh yeah.
Good for him. Let's see. Sean, goes on a date with Neela to the vending machines. They do not go to the world famous high school girls' panties vending machine. But instead they get some snacks and they talk about how they're both outsiders. Neela feeling like an outsider largely because she was white and grew up in Japan. But that's not all that they have in common. It turns out that Neela can also drift. This will never come up again. DK finds out that they've been hanging out, and so he sucker punches Sean while he's at drift practice and gives him the old stay away from my girl speech. DK's troubles continue to compound, though. His uncle is in the Yakuza, and that's sort of where DK gets all his cred, that and the drifting stuff. And anyway, his uncle shows up, and it's Sonny Chiba.
Hey!
And Sonny Chiba's dressed all in white, except for like a paisley ascot, and he's wearing a white fedora. He looks sick as hell. And he says, I've been looking at the numbers of your business, nephew, that I allow you to run. I gave you a job because you're my dead brother's son, and this is the job that I can give you. And
nepotism, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, Takashi has big Nepo baby energy.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny Chiba says, I've been looking at the numbers, and it looks like your partner Han has been stealing from us. And Takashi's like, oh, fuck. Okay. And he agrees to go look into it. So DK goes back to Han's garage and confronts him, this time pulling a gun on him. And Han says that, I have been skimming, but he basically justifies it by saying that A, he does all the work anyway, and B, they're all criminals, so of course I'm going to steal from you. What do you think this is? And to me, I think this was a weird decision for me. I think this is a missed opportunity. As far as the film, I think it should have been that Takashi was skimming and he has to blame it on Han. Because Han doesn't, you don't want Han to be a skimmer stealing from his partners. That's not the vibe I got from Han. I mean, obviously he doesn't respect Takashi and he's a criminal, but still, if you want to be part of this, family where they're all criminals, but they're all sort of Robin Hoods, skimming from other people isn't the vibe to me.
It does feel like it's the piece of his story that doesn't feel like the version of the character that we come to know later.
Mm-hmm.
Who's just simply like the coolest guy in the world. Like there's not a lot to Han, despite his appearance in four very long feature films. The thing about him is just that he's very cool. And stealing from your friend is not cool. However, stealing from your job,
touche.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess later on in his retcon that at this point, he is also actively involved in a multinational spy ring.
He's actually doing a sting operation for not S.H.I.E.L.D. Or the company or whatever. I have some vague name that's, again, not the CIA and not S.H.I.E.L.D. And apparently distinct from the diplomatic police security agency or whatever it is that The Rock's character works for. He is, so he's actually a good guy the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And his death and what appears to be basically a consequence of his, we'll get there.
Yeah. It's very complicated, but it is true that Han is incredibly cool, and it makes sense that he's a breakout character and that they did want to justify, rearrange the rest of the continuity around being able to have this character. I think he's worth it. He's always eating snacks. It's great.
Yeah. Han
it's so good that he's always eating
every
snacks.
Scene that he's not driving.
Yeah,
and somewhere
just
he is
munching. He's got really good hair. He's great. So this leads to sort of a little bit of a scuffle, which then leads to a car chase through Shibuya with 4 cars. You got Morimoto and DK chasing Han in one car and Sean and Neela in the other. And this is some good chasing. This is also, I think, one of the only car action sequences that is not a race in this movie. And I think that is one of the strengths of this movie within the Fast and the Furious franchise, is that it is predominantly about car racing.
It is the only Fast and Furious movie that is legitimately a sports movie.
Yeah.
And I'm even under what I think is a pretty rigid definition of sports movie, which is that the final stakes of the film have to be resolved in a contest of skill in a sport, which they do here. And as far as we know, like, the results are like honored.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. And you could argue the first movie has that in terms of the sort of drag race that concludes the Fast and the Furious, but that's a crime movie with racing. This is a sports movie with crime.
Yeah,
there's a training montage.
Yeah, for sure. This is 100% any number of Rockies. This is probably most aligned with Karate Kid Part 2, but
yeah, can't argue with that.
Now, Morimoto in this chase, he wrecks his car, but he lives. Han wrecks his car and it explodes and he dies. We see him die. It's terrible. Han, the best character, the character that we all love, is dead.
Very clearly, nothing you can do about that.
No!
And also in what seems to be just a very just tragic accident, right? Like
he was just T-boned by like a Honda Civic or something.
I mean, it's like I think I was looking this up earlier because, believe it or not, Fast and Furious fans have a very, very thorough documentation of what cars are in the movie, and it's just like a shit, like just like a 90s sedan, like an old luxury sedan, which they then in future films have to decide that the other super cool character played by Jason Statham would in a million years drive. Absolutely, he would not be driving that. Even if he was just planning to crash it and that was his whole plan, he's not sitting in that. Because again, because of the time fluctuations of this franchise, he would be driving this 1992 lame-ass accountant sedan in the year 2017. It's not happening. He's not driving that car.
It's true. It doesn't fit with it, but you know.
But yes, it turns out that Han was actually assassinated as revenge for his role in the not even death, actually, the maiming of Jason Statham's brother in a movie that no one had thought of yet. But Han wasn't in the car. There was a body double in the car because they swapped him out in the middle of the race because they knew that Jason Statham was going to do that. So he could come back in F9 with a not as good haircut, which is really the most unforgivable part of all of this, is that
that is too bad.
He needs to have those
beautiful head of
bangs.
Hair.
Yeah, that powerful mane. He's like Samson. So Sean and Neela flee back to his place. But DK is there and he's going to shoot Sean. But then Sean's dad shows up and he's there with a gun. And then Neela agrees to go with DK and the situation sort of de-escalates for now. Sean realizes what he's got to do. He's tired of leaving town every time his dumbass gets in too much trouble. This time, trouble's going to leave town. So he gets the cash that Han's been skimming. Turns out Twinkie had it for some reason. It was just in the trunk of his car in a leather satchel.
He has to keep it in the most secure automobile in the world, and that is
true.
the one that is guarded by the Incredible Hulk.
It's true. The harder you try to steal, the stronger he gets. And so Sean takes the money to Sonny Chiba, and he apologizes. He said, "Look, this is just your money. I'm just bringing it back to you. All I want to do is, I know that me and your nephew, we've caused a lot of trouble for you with this beef that we've got between us. I've got a great way for us to settle it. Nobody has to get hurt. Let's race. Whoever loses the race has to leave town." And DK's like, "This is bullshit. Let me kill him." And Sonny Chiba's like, No. First of all, you're the Drift King, so you're definitely going to win. I'm not even worried about it. And, I've had to cover up several murders tonight. This has already been a big hassle. I don't want to deal with another dead body. Let's go with his idea. It's fine. He'll leave town in a week and we'll fucking move on with our lives. I have other things that I have to do. You know what I mean? I'm a crime boss. Yeah, Sonny Chiba agrees. He loves this idea. Sean snags the last remaining engine down at Han's garage from the car that he wrecked when Han tossed him the keys in his race against DK. It's still, the engine is fine. All the other cars have been seized by the police. So he takes that engine and he puts it in the old Mustang that his dad was fixing up. And then the gang puts the whole Mustang together and we get a nice little tuning the car montage. And I'm sure Dad's got to be like, oh, hey, you fixed up that old Mustang. That's great. Now I can have it when you're done, right? That's still my car. Now I've got this fucking sweet ass drifting Mustang. And another thing that really separates this film from the rest of the Fast and the Furious franchise is that that's mostly typified by muscle cars, I want to say, and pony cars, as opposed to these sort of shorter drifting cars. They don't have that sort of big, mean American beef profile, you know? It just gives it another aesthetic point of difference. So yeah, we get a car building montage, and then hey, it's race night. You love to see it. DK and Sean, they meet at the top of the mountain that Twinkie said is DK's mountain. No one else has ever even survived going down this mountain, which really makes me think that they should close this road. This seems bad.
Yeah.
So they race down it at the middle of the night, and it's back and forth. And every time Takashi's behind, he starts racing dirty, does a little bit of nudging. At one point, he starts to T-bone Sean, and we go to what we think is a POV camera that goes over the edge of the road and down to the trees. My wife audibly gasped.
I don't like heights.
Yeah, but it's not quite like the Kuleshov effect, but it's that same sort of tricking the audience with a camera move.
It's very clever. I mean, we were
it really
in the
works.
golden age of camera phones, and Justin Lin uses this idea of, all right, how do I demonstrate obviously the audience is going to see the whole race because we're omniscient, but how are we going to indicate why the people who are there are so excited and get embedded in the experience the way the audience is? What if everybody has their phones out and it's never mind how with the processing power of these phones they are juggling the various speeds. Don't think about that. Don't know why it is because it's actually the year 2015 or whatever, and these are retro.
Well, in Japan, flip phones are still their smartphones are flip phones.
So
cool.
But what Lin does is he has a shot begin from the point of view of one flip phone, then follow a car for a while, and then zoom out from that and discover we're looking through a different flip phone, and it's fun and it's interesting in a way that I think a lot of these movies aren't. I think that it has. I will say some of this for analysis. We can,
but no, it is very artful. You know what I mean? It's
my therapist if we don't even need be.
But no, it's true. There's a lot to appreciate. You know, a lot of these films of this era of action can feel perfunctory. And this is definitely one of the exceptions to that. There's definitely some intentionality and some artfulness here.
And I think that artfulness actually goes a long way towards establishing, like, even though we only have a few people from this, you know, Tokyo street racing community who speak, like, you really feel like there's a community there.
Yeah, he did a great job of world building, I want to say. A lot of really well-cast extras. And the setting is just so evocative. And there's obviously a lot of Orientalism in here, but it does feel
yeah, sure. And it was
more authentic.
Reportedly, before Justin Lin came in, so much worse in terms of the juvenile Orientalism. So I sat down to watch the movie with some people being like, this used to be so much more juvenile. Like, it was more juvenile than this?
Yeah.
So this is from the writer that The Onion once did a piece where they were interviewing Chris Morgan, and the responses were exactly what a 5-year-old would say to every answer.
Yeah, like I think they had them like drifting around stone Buddha statues, and there were geisha girls and stuff like
Yeah, that's what I heard.
stuff that was like, at least these felt like
Woof.
topical Japanese references. Do you know what I mean? Like they at least didn't feel 40 years old.
It's like if Chris Morgan didn't even do the smart thing, which is get Universal to pay for him to spend a week vacation in Tokyo seeing the
Mm-hmm.
sights on their dime, and just figured, I'll watch a bunch of movies made by white Americans in the 40s to 60s, and that'll
Yeah.
be how I decide what Japan is. Thankfully, some other hands, more qualified hands, did some, perhaps not enough, correction to those factors.
No, I mean, it's not like this is gung ho. Do you know what I mean? This is not the least sensitive portrayal of Japan by an American film that I've seen.
Mhm.
So the race is very exciting, obviously. And towards the end, DK ends up rolling his car. Opponents of Sean always end up rolling their cars. You hate to see it. And Sean wins the race.
Hooray!
Sonny Chiba, obviously an honorable gangster type, agrees to let Sean stay, and DK has to leave. Or should I should call him Takashi. He is no longer the Drift King. Sean is the new Drift King. And he's back at the cool parking garage. All the cool cars are there. All the cool dudes and dudettes are there. And Twinkie's there, and he says, "Hey, man, somebody wants to challenge the new Drift King." Oh, and Neil is there, and I don't even know if she says anything. But Twinkie says someone wants to challenge the new Drift King. And Sean's like, "Not tonight, man. I'm hanging out with Neela." And he's like, he knew Han. He says Han was family. Oh, shit. It's Dom Toretto. It is a Fast and the Furious movie. It was a Fast and the Furious movie the whole time. They shouldn't have put up a title card. They should have saved the title card for the end of the film. That would have been great. And that's the movie. That's the feature-length film.
You probably came across this in your research, but I find it amazing that, so they finished the movie before they had this scene on here. This was out of after test screenings where like people expect to see a character from Fast and the Furious. Let's film the scene with Vin Diesel if we can get Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel said, "Yes, I'll do it." No, I don't want money. I'll do it for the rights to my character Richard B. Riddick from the films Pitch Black and The Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
That was his payment for his brief appearance in this film. And you know what? I think it really worked.
I kind of like that.
Yes. I mean, he just wanted his D&D character back, and or his Warhammer character or whatever. And he's still making those movies, by God. And
yeah, there's supposed to be another one sooner or later, right?
People are watching him. One of them has Katie Sackhoff in it, and I still didn't see it.
I think I watched all of them. I think the only I don't know. It's been at least 15 years. I probably watched them in the year they came out on DVD and not at all since. But final thoughts on Tokyo Drift. Dylan, you're our guest. Give us your final thoughts. Give us your 5-star rating.
Okay. I have pulled up, and I'm going to try and not do the whole thing at you.
Okay.
Over the height of the pandemic, when we were all trapped in our homes and hanging out with our friends on Discord all the time, we had a drunk PowerPoint party, and I prepared a slide. I prepared a slideshow that is a full-throated and scholarly defense of this film. The essay is called "This Is My Mexico."
Okay.
And my thesis is basically this: Tokyo Drift is efficient and thematically consistent in a way that the Fast saga almost never is, while effectively juggling 3 genres. I believe it is a sports movie, a gangster movie, and a coming-of-age film. And I think it does all 3 of these reasonably well. And compared to the movies that followed, that people for a long time claimed were better, and I think that they've all wised up to it, it has a clear thematic through line that every character connects to, and that is respect and self-respect. Sean, in the beginning of the story, does not care how his actions affect others. He doesn't even seem to care what happens to himself. Racing comes naturally to him. He doesn't have to really work at it. He won his first race the second day that he got behind the wheel of the car, he says. And he thinks he's got it all figured out. Like, for instance, when he makes his first kind of pass at Neela, and he tries to guess her life story, but he's really just saying his own life story. And he's completely blown it. He gets everything wrong. By the end of the film, Sean has learned to take responsibility and to apologize for himself rather than run. He has the option. The wise choice is for him to run away from his problems, which is something that he's been taught to do by his family and reinforced in his own actions throughout the film. In the beginning, he's now decided he has to stay and face what, even though he's not the guy who was skimming, right? He's just attached to it. He's like, I've made a mess here. I need to clean it up. He puts the time in to hone his craft, to take a piece of the thing that he took for granted and learn how to do it better by someone else's rules. He slows his roll and builds genuine friendships and relationships, something that he never had any interest in doing in the beginning of the film. And it all comes together in the beautiful, and I'm not saying this in a facetious way, I think it's a really good metaphor that in a better movie people would talk about more. The central avatar for his change is that he has this broken old chassis that he gets from his dad, right? This is the life, this is the person that he became in his old life. A version of himself that is born from this tempestuous relationship with his parents and his lack of the idea of responsibility, that there's implication that his dad ran away from the family to go and serve overseas in the Navy, and then his mother changed towns over and over again, right? He inherits this. His father gives him this wreck of an American muscle car, and he rebuilds it with parts that were assembled and collected by his new friends here in Tokyo. And he turns them into a new car that is both the old him and the new him. It is essentially Sean, but it is also a symbol of his transformation. And no one remarks upon it in the film because that would ruin it.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's smarter than the movie anybody was asking for when they made this. And I'm gonna be honest, I got a little choked up talking about it.
Oh, well, that's fair enough. That sounds to me like a 5 stars. Am I reading that right?
On Letterboxd, I gave it 3.5. On this show, I'm giving it 5 stars.
Yes. Yes. Obviously, we have it. Stars are all based on context. You have to admit. Anna, what are your thoughts, my heart?
This is also a 5-star movie for me. I find the actual protagonist not that interesting. Although after hearing you talk about his character arc, like, that does actually make him more interesting to me. But I think Han is cool. I think drifting is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie did not make as much money as the others because the cast was mostly Asian.
Ooh, hot take. Fair enough.
No, I don't even think it's a hot take. I think there's like really
That could very
no
well
two
be.
ways about it. That just doesn't.
We should not discount, as we somehow managed to talk about this movie for over an hour and not mention it, that Lucas Black, who plays the main role, is terrible in this film. He's very
terrible,
bad.
yeah.
And in
I'm going to defend Lucas
2016
Black.
Okay, go ahead. Please defend Lucas
To
Black.
me, I love that he has a real shit kicker accent. I think it puts him within the canon of shit kicker characters, like a Steve Railsback, a guy that's just, he looks like a fucking high school bully. Do you know what I mean? Like at the beginning, I buy him as this sort of like shitty kid. And everybody says, oh, he looks like he's 34. I don't mind that. I grew up in the 90210 era. I'm used to having kids in their 20s somethings play high school students. It's fine. It's a heightened reality. And I think once you internalize that his character is the shit kicker archetype, I think his performance works.
Do you know who we could have had in this role?
Tell me.
In 2016, in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Channing Tatum revealed that he fought for an audition for Tokyo Drift and then completely blew it, to the extent that in the middle of the audition, he said, I think we're done, right? And just left.
No, poor baby.
He was 24 years old. He was not a big deal yet, but he knew he arrived at this audition and he bombed it so bad that he bailed.
Well,
imagine, actually, this is a phrase I was going to say, and I realized it's actually the title of the GQ article that spread the word about this. Let's imagine a world in which Channing Tatum got the Fast and Furious 3 role he auditioned for. Credit to either writer Rohan Nadkarni or more likely the editor of the article, since they usually are the editors who come up with the headlines. If Channing Tatum had starred in this movie, I think it would have changed cinematic history, because I think the movie would have done better because Channing Tatum, I think he's irresistible as a movie star. I guess he wasn't a name yet, but this could have begun his career in a different way, right?
It's true.
Or it was 2 years before Step Up, which was his big breakout. And also, maybe they wouldn't have had to bring back the original cast in the fourth movie, and they would have done other stuff, and we wouldn't have gotten the rest of the Fast and Furious franchise, which, as much as I love Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6, might have been good for everyone. It might be better if we didn't have those films.
I will say that this is a Channing Tatum that flubbed his audition for Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. I can't imagine those sides were that demanding. To not be able to say, like, I'll only race for pink slips. How do you fuck that up?
Okay.
I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. I think the second act, it got a little bit redundant, but I think it's a gorgeous film. I think all the performances, I'm going to say other than Neela, were great. I think there's a reason why Neela didn't get added to the canon of Fast and the Furious hot brunettes. And even though she can canonically drive a race car, she never does. And I think Sean is a great addition to the canon of white guys going to Asia and getting better than Asians at Asian things. Going back to Blood on the Sun with James Cagney, where he plays a reporter that learns judo during World War II. That's the oldest example of that I ever found.
Wow.
Well, speaking of a world where Channing Tatum played the role of Sean, the shit kicker that goes to Tokyo, let's talk about some other possibilities of what could happen in our segment, Cinematic Universe.
Ooh.
This movie was really cool. It had a lot of cool ideas. This rich setting would really work for a cinematic universe. That would be really cool. Dude, a cinematic universe. A cinematic universe. Cinematic universe. A cinematic universe.
All right. So, Dylan, you're famously devote a lot of your time to thinking about hypothetical cinematic universes.
Yeah, if I'm famous for anything, it's that. I guess now's a good enough time as any. I know you have a segment for plugs, so we'll.
Yes, but we might as well at least drop that hint right now. We can talk a little bit about Dark Universe. Obviously, we'll hit it up in plugs, but it's such a great concept. I'd love to talk about it right now.
So what I've been doing with my friend Dalton Deshane for the past 2 years plus is extrapolating an entire MCU scale cinematic universe based on 2017's failed The Mummy reboot that was supposed to launch Universal's Dark Universe, which has recently been revived as a theme park.
Okay.
With absolutely zero references to the 2017 Mummy inside.
Wow.
And we are, in terms of the rhythm, we've borrowed, like, this, the conceit is that, obviously Universal wanted to make their own Marvel universe, so we've borrowed the shape of the Marvel universe and organized our movies into phases with crossover movies at the end of each one. And we are only a couple of episodes short of our Infinity War at this point.
Okay.
We are about 22, 23 pitches deep, and by pitches I mean because both of our brains are terrible We at this point write 60 to 80 to 140 page screenplays and then perform them sometimes with a cast on the show. And I score the readings. And
Okay.
it's just the most laborious thing you could possibly agree to do that you legally can't profit from. It's
Yeah, that does sound labor intensive.
yes, you can find us anywhere you find this podcast or others. Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? We are on social media platforms, most notably Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Dark Universe Pod. And hell, we've got a Patreon because technically nothing from Universal is behind the paywall, very technically. And you can support us at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. But probably check out the show first.
We have been listening to the show. The last one we listened to was Phantom of the Opera, which is just spectacular.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
great
much.
stuff.
Yeah, I've just been really loving it. Not only for like the movies themselves are fun, but I have just really loved like listening to you and Dalton, like listening to a creative partnership, listening to two people talk about creative work together and hashing it out that way. It's just really, really lovely to listen to. I've really been enjoying it.
Thank you so much. It, honestly, like I'm as a writer, I've always struggled with the solitude of the creative process sometimes. Realizing it doesn't have to be that way, even if you're writing by yourself. It's always great to have a workshop group. It's always great to have whatever. But like getting to spend so much time thinking about challenging yourself against a storyteller you respect and building a rapport, and especially in the conditions of our show where we get to kind of mess with each other by writing alternating chapters of a narrative to which we're both committed. It's a joy. I don't know. It's great. Like Dalton and I were good friends when it started, but now it's it's very much like a work wife thing now at this point, where we're like we're crafting this universe together and it's our baby and we're parenting it. And although it was never part of the original intent of the show, the more the specter of like AI created storytelling content begins to like loom over all of our heads, the idea, the opportunity to showcase the beauty of the creative process itself is something that I'm really happy to be a part of. And most of all, the most exciting thing about it is that a lot of our listeners have talked to us about like how excited it makes them to make things. And our community shares work together. We have in our Discord, we have people who they schedule readings for each other's work on our platform.
Oh,
and
fun.
like they basically do our show together for themselves with their own scripts. And it's, I don't know, it's changing my life month after month, and I love doing it, and I'm so glad you enjoy it.
Oh, well, enough with our love for our guests. Let's talk about our love for our hypothetical cinematic universes that we've developed. Anna, I believe you developed an alternate universe that you wanted to pitch or had an idea.
Yeah, because my idea basically is, this being the second canonical movie that Han appears in, and then not being particularly satisfied with what is canonically done with him from this point on. Like my idea is just kind of like a Han focused cinematic universe that just keeps putting this character in different genres. That, going from like indie teen neo noir to big budget coming of age sports movie to, I don't know, to romance, to
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a movie where he opens a restaurant and it's like a beautiful food movie. Or just anything. I
think a snack bar.
Right, yeah, I would just love to see movies about Han doing different things.
Han should open a tapas place.
Oh my God! Yes,
all little bites, gourmet bites.
I'd love to see him take to the sea.
Yes,
that's the one place Fast and Furious hasn't gone enough. Boats. Listen, or I guess they did do a submarine.
Fast and Furious has a submarine, but they've certainly done many more planes than done boats. And Too Fast, Too Furious has some fast boat stuff because, of course, that movie's basically just a Miami Vice rip. But, yeah, let's get him under the sea. He wasn't even around for Fate of the Furious because he was dead in that one. So It's
Yeah, we missed him in swim trunks. Come on. My hypothetical cinematic universe, I wanted to see what happened next to Sean and the gang. Because the next time we see them, it's 9. They're in Germany. They're building a rocket car. What? They were, first of all, experts in turning. Now they're building something that can only go straight.
Actually,
It just seems, what happened?
I wrote down the sentence from the Wikipedia entry on that because it's very it's casting a little bit of shade. It's how they came from their circumstances of the Japanese drift scene to their work in the military industry is not explained in the series. All right.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
It should be, like how this movie ends with one of those WWE style disclaimers of like, these are the work of professionals, do not.
Yes.
That exact text should be the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And apparently they did that in a relatively short period of time because while 15 years took place between the release of those two films, they are only as far apart as Dominic Toretto's baby son is old. So it's
3?
I guess no more than 3 or 4 years. They're rocket scientists now. They were in high school and bad at it, but now they're rocket scientists.
And those 3 years have been rough.
Yes,
These guys have not aged well in these 3 years. I'm sorry, no disrespect. But what I wanted to see happen in those 3 years is who doesn't return is Neela. So I wanted to see something that was almost like a King Arthur, Guinevere, Lancelot triangle between Twinkie, Sean, and Neela. And then at some point, they maybe find themselves in a situation like Robot Jocks, where Neela has to end up taking the car in the race because she's a racer. We've never seen her race. She takes the car, she wins, drives off into the sunset because Sean and Twinkie did not respect her. Something along those lines. That's where I'm getting at. Maybe a King Arthur story, but with a feminist bent from Guinevere's point of view. The movie's Neela focused. Yes, that's my pitch.
Oh dear,
I
I
know.
feel it's a lot of pressure now. These are both really good ideas.
Well, that's all right. We just wanted to run our cinematic universes by you. You don't have to think of one off the top of your head.
I mean, I
You're
think
the
they
expert.
can both coexist, right?
Absolutely.
But that's the things, like I like when franchises do weird little things like that. And I wish it happened more often. And my weird thing I was gonna say is if we're gonna pick characters from this movie that we want for some reason to reappear, the character Earl in this movie, whose name I'm not even sure we hear, he's just one of the guys, but he's played by Jason Tobin, who's an actor who we would later be Young June on Warrior. And I love him so much. If you've never seen the show Warrior, then you're not alone there because it is one of the most underpromoted, undervalued dramas of the streaming age and has been canceled now by 2.5 networks. So
I think I've seen a few episodes. There's a very hot guy on it.
There are a number of very hot people across the gender
That's what I remember.
But Warrior is a stylized crime drama set in a post-Civil War San Francisco. About Chinese immigrants in San Francisco and the Tong Wars between the various crime families that were built over there, and is extremely dope in its action choreography. It is based on the pitch that Bruce Lee made in the 70s that was allegedly ripped off to create the series Kung Fu. And it's just sick as hell, and Jason Tobin plays a really fun little weasel in that show.
He's got a good weasel face.
He does. And it makes me wonder, what is this guy's deal? They brought him back for F9, but I think that has more to do with him being a frequent collaborator of Justin
they go back
Lin's.
to Better Luck Tomorrow.
Yes. But that also poses the question, what is this Jason Tobin's character's relationship to Jason Tobin's character in Better Luck Tomorrow if Han's the same guy? I
What
don't
do you
really
think?
have a
Just because they look alike?
I don't have a pitch for you. I just want to know what Earl's deal is.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about Earl. And that gal that hang out with Earl that I strongly suspect was in Battle Royale.
She was not.
Oh, okay. I'm the racist. Well, let's move on to our next segment then. It's time for a game. It's time for a little 2 out of 3 are real. He's this guy.
He's this guy.
He's that guy. But there ain't no way he ever played the third guy. I know how you feel.
How you feel.
But 2 out of 3 are real. I said I know how you feel. But 2 out of 3 are real.
Baby, we can talk all night. But now it's time for the segment.
All right, it's time for 2 out of 3 are real. We're going to do a little two
so
truth and a
good.
lie.
Ah, that's so good.
Thank you.
The bit is so good. The commitment of including the coda, not just doing the last chorus, but doing the little coda at the end and segueing into the segment, a segue I am now completely ruining. That it's just I'm talking, but it's just the extra pinch of salt that makes a good bit great. It's really good.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice to hear. Well, wait till you hear this game. This is 2 out of 3 are real. We're going to be doing 2 truths and a lie with the filmography of J.J. Sonny Chiba.
All right.
J.J. Sonny Chiba, the J.J. stands for Japan Justice, if I remember correctly. He has been in countless films. I'm going to say up over 100 if I remember correctly. So I went through his filmography and I found a bunch of films that, just like Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, have a colon in them. All of these films have colons in the middle.
Okay.
And
we're doing Sonny Chiba's colonoscopy.
Damn, you got me. Okay. Question number 1. A Cop's Revenge, Eternal Gang War. Police Department Story, 12 Detectives. Or Drifting Detective, Black Wind in the Harbor.
One of them is fake.
One of them is fake, 2 of them are real.
Okay.
They all sound incredible to me.
They do.
Yeah, I think the first one is fake.
A Cop's Revenge, Eternal Gang War?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so difficult because I don't know you very well. And so I can't pick out what bits would be like. We play a game similar to this on the bonus pod with Dalton, but I know Dalton very well.
Mm-mm.
And so, like, dang.
Well, you just have to go on instinct.
Well, Anna knows you very well, and they said it's the first one. So I'm gonna metagame this shit. I'm gonna agree.
Well, there you go. Don't play the game, play the man. You are 100% correct. A Cop's Revenge, Eternal Gang War was fake. Question
Thanks,
number
Anna.
2. This time, Dylan, you're going first. Question number 2. Yakuza Cop 2, Marijuana Trafficking Syndicate. Yakuza Wolf 2, Extend My Condolences. Or Yakuza Lord 3, Hokkaido is Blood Red.
I love all of these.
Mm.
I respect you for making up any of these 3.
Well, thank you.
It's tricky because like marijuana is a more seriously a controlled substance in Japan, so they might have like it's not a sexy word to include in a cop thriller title in America, but it might be in Japan.
Yeah, it might sound better in Japanese.
Yeah. I am picking. I'm going with the second one.
Yakuza Wolf 2, Extend My Condolences.
A great title. If you
All
make
right.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Hokkaido is Red.
Yakuza Lord 3, Hokkaido is Blood Red.
Yes.
Anna's correct again.
Dang.
Hey.
As always, there is no collusion in the game segment.
You took away my secret weapon, copying the homework of the person sitting next to me.
All right. Question number 3. Grass Cutter, Legend of the Windblade. Sarutobe Sasuke and the Army of Darkness 3, Wind Chapter. Or The Winds of God, Kamikaze.
Wow.
You're up first,
terrible
Anna.
radio if I ask you to do it again?
Not at all. Grass Cutter, Legend of the Windblade. Sarutobe Sasuke and the Army of Darkness 3, Wind Chapter. The Winds of God, Kamikaze.
I'm gonna say Grass Cutter, whether it's right or not, because I have that blade in our D&D game. I've forgotten. Why can't I remember its Japanese name?
I can't either.
I've owned that thing for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, we haven't rolled in a while.
It's true.
What do you think, Dylan?
Oh man, it's difficult because I can't keep them in my head because
they're so long.
Do any of them include punctuation aside from a colon? Is there one where there's like a colon and like a dash or an M dash?
No.
I don't know why I ask. It doesn't affect my answer.
I can give you the first half if it just helps you at least remember that part.
Okay.
Grass Cutter, Sarutobe Sasuke and the Army of Darkness, or The Winds of God.
I'm going to go with Kamikaze, The Wings of God.
Okay. Anna's got it again. It was Grass Cutter, Legend of the Windblade.
Dang. I had the opportunity. Why didn't I cheat?
That's a lesson everyone should take home from this episode. All right, question number 4. Dylan's up. The Executioner 3, Karate Inferno. Karate Fighting 3, Ultimate Heroes. Or Fighting Karate, Brutal Ultimate Truth Fist.
Okay, the third one sounds made up, but the trick with games like this is that sometimes you want to pick you want to pick the ones that sound the most made up. Nevertheless, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say the one that sounds like a video game, an arcade cabinet that Bart finds in an early Simpsons episode. That is the one I'm taking.
All right, Fighting Karate, Brutal Ultimate Truth Fist. What do you think, my dove?
Me too.
All right, you're both incorrect. It was Karate Fighting 3, The Ultimate Heroes. That was the one I made up.
Oh.
Fighting Karate, Brutal Ultimate Truth Fist was released in America as Karate Bear Fighter. It's the movie where Sonny Cheetah does karate on a bear.
Oh.
All right, well, that's something I got to look up on YouTube after the show.
Yeah, it was available in America on DVD. I know, so you can probably find it out there.
Somewhere
Question
in the
number
Chef
5.
Factory archives.
Yeah. Number 5, Delinquent Boss, Ocho the She-Wolf. New Battles Without Honor and Humanity, The Boss's Head. Or Osaka by Day, The Boss Returns.
Osaka by Day, The Boss Returns.
I'm going to go with the Delinquent Boss.
Delinquent Boss, Ocho the She-Wolf. That one is real. Osaka by Day was correct. Anna's got it again.
Dang.
I promise we really don't collude. Last week he got all the difficult ones on the game I wrote.
It's true. And this is how I repay you my heart with love. Question number 6. Gambler Tales of Hashu, A Man's Pledge. Winds of Winning, God's Gambler. Or Wandering Ginza Butterfly, She-Cat Gambler.
Is this me this time?
Yes. I'll read you the first halves again. Gambler Tales of Hashu, Winds of Winning, or Wandering Ginza Butterfly.
I'm going to... Listen, I haven't gotten an honest, correct answer yet where I haven't just lucked into it by saying that one, what they said. So I'm going to go with... Oh my God. I'm taking B.
Winds of Winning, God's Gambler?
Winds of Winning because it sounds like a post.
That's fair.
Yeah. The Wandering Ginza Butterfly.
Wandering Ginza Butterfly, She-Cat Gambler. That one is real. Dylan, you got that one.
Hey!
Hey!
My self-worth restored to
I'm surprised you didn't get that one, Anna. I feel like Winds of Winning God's Gambler is a very Chris title. Question number 7, last round. This is you'll notice all the other ones had like commonalities throughout the titles. Last one was gambling. Before that, we had bosses. This one is miscellaneous. Hepcat in the Funky Hat, the 20 million yen arm. Samurai Angel and Angel in Hell. Or Wolf Guy Enraged Lycanthrope. I'm going to say those again because they're really fun for me.
Yeah.
Hepcat in the Funky Hat, the 20 million yen arm. Samurai Angel and Angel in Hell. Or Wolf Guy Enraged Lycanthrope.
Samurai Angel.
I want Wolf Guy Enraged Lycanthrope. I'm picking it surely because I wish it was Dark Universe eligible.
Well, the bad news is it's not Dark Universe eligible. The good news is it's a real movie you can watch. And I got that one too. Samurai Angel and Angel in Hell was fake.
Yeah, I've seen Werewolf Enraged Lycanthrope. Didn't I? Did you watch it with me, or did I watch that on?
That was a different Wolf movie. He did several of those. I think that was like Wolf Cop, maybe. Or maybe that was Wolf Guy Enraged Lycanthrope. I can't remember.
I've seen Wolf Guy Enraged Lycanthrope. One does not forget that title.
It is really good. Yeah, that was probably what happened. Well, I guess that means it's coming down to the final leg of the show. It's time for the Baddie Awards. Now you're messing with 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 the Baddie Awards. Congratulations to all the nominees. That's right. Congratulations to all our nominees. Welcome to the Baddie Awards. I'm going to kick us off. Let's keep things moving. I'm going to give my Baddie Award to Best Rap Song About the Movie over the closing credits. And that's going to go to the Teriyaki Boys. I did not give them that name. That name is, I think, quite unfortunate, but they love it. They're a group of rappers from Yokohama, Japan. That track was produced by the Neptunes. It is a straight up banger, and it is going to be briefly our closing credits. That song is so good.
It's so much fun, and it's the kind of thing where it's one of those annoying pop song situations where like, I feel like it's inappropriate for me to participate in this song in any way other than nodding my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great one to listen in the car alone.
Yes. Like even like the act of like kind of quietly singing along to myself and being like, well, there's no words I can't say. And yet it feels racist to sing along.
Yeah, it is great to hear the sort of diversity of fluency in English that the Sorted Teriyaki Boys have on the track. Some of them, I believe, are native English speakers. Some of them have a little bit. Some of them just rap in Japanese. They don't even try. But it's all great. And the beat is like really discordant and really cool. Anyway, you'll hear a clip of it. If you've forgotten what it sounds like, don't worry, you'll remember. Anna, do you have a Baddie Award?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I don't really have a name for the award, but while I think Han has most of the actual best lines in the movie, there's an honorable mention best line when Takahashi, when Neela goes to break up with DK, and he tells her, "We're not so different, you and I." And I think that's the first movie we had in this podcast where someone pulls that out. And that made me, I was absolutely delighted.
I mean, it is the mirror image to Kill Switch's "All My Life I've Searched for a Worthy Adversary." So that immediately evoked that line from episode 1 for me. Dylan, do you have a Baddie Award?
I want to, I guess I could, I'm torn because like, I don't know how sincere I should be.
As sincere as you want, brother. There are no wrong answers.
My sort of honorable mention is best car driving sequence in a Fast and Furious movie to the downhill mountain race in the end of this film. I think it is. I think this movie, by a mile, even over other Justin Lin movies, has the most beautiful driving sequences of anything in this series. But there's a non-racing sequence. The one time we see Neela drive, it is scored by Brian Tyler, like the rest of this movie and like many of the Fast and Furious movies. There is a track on the soundtrack called Neela Drifts, which is, to me, one of the most sort of like centering pieces of music ever to be made for an arguably terrible action spin-off film. I have it on like all of my favorite score playlists or whatever, and I think there's a reason why they have taken this cue and basically turned it into Han's theme in all the future films, even though he is not in this scene. And shout out to Brian Tyler for delivering when he really didn't have to.
All right.
Cool.
Well, congratulations to all our winners of Batty Awards. Congratulations to you, listeners. You've made it to the end of the episode. Who'd have thunk it?
Hooray!
So, any final thoughts? Final Tokyo Drift thoughts before we call it a day? I don't want to have any meat left on the table. You know what I'm saying? I think we gnawed this one down to the bone, but anything anybody needs?
I did realize that next week our guest will be Gretchen Felker Martin, the amazing horror author of Manhunt and Cuckoo, and she contributed a story to the Lambda Award-winning Too Trans, Too Furious, an extremely serious journal of transgender street racing studies, which is just a trans anthology about the Fast and the Furious movies. She wrote some story where I believe Dom gradually absorbs the rest of the team.
The family?
Yeah, which is a very Gretchen image.
My co-host has a copy of this book in their apartment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got such a great cover too. With it's Matty Luchansky anamorph of Dom Toretto changing into his car. It's really
didn't
great.
even peg that as being a Matty Lubchansky drawing, but now in hindsight.
Well, that is a very cool detail. And listeners, look forward to that episode. We will be talking about Brotherhood of the Wolf, our first foreign language film. You can always count on Gretchen to class the place up. Dylan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, I've plugged plenty. I have taken every opportunity to derail the structure of your show throughout the day, and I guess I'm going to do it one more time by adding, I will add the extra thing that if you want to follow me personally and find my writing, I am on Blue Sky and Twitter at Dylan Roth. That's spelled like Dylan like Bob, Roth like David Lee. And I write frequently for Observer.com and occasionally for Polygon Digital Trends. And check out that podcast that I went on for 20 minutes about earlier. It's pretty good.
Yes, please do. And while we're plugging things, you know I'm going to plug myself, listeners. You know that I'm doing that. Listen,
really?
I know that you've got your phone in your hands and you're about to be like, oh, well, done with that. On to the next amazing episode of your favorite bad movie podcast. But while your phone is in your hand, why don't you give us that 5 stars? Why don't you give us a follow or a subscribe or leave a comment or anything that you can interact with the platform that you are currently on? They love just anything. It shows that you're engaged, and that helps us move up their algorithms. And boy, we all love scamming algorithms, folks. Get in on the fun. And if you also want to get in on the fun by reaching out to us, you can email us at favoritebadmoviepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at yourfavoritebadmoviepod. You can find us on Blue Sky at favoritebadmovie.bsky.social. And if you follow the link tree that's in the show description, you can find our Discord. And you can also find the YouTube channel where I've been uploading trailers for all the movies that we make that I've been cutting together. So you can get like a visual primer on the next film that's coming up, get a little hyped up. Check them out. I've been having a ton of fun making them. So I guess that's it. If you're still listening at this point, thank you so much, and be good.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
喧騒まみれこの街の演奏玉たまま一度ついておいで